you have to offer the absolute best risk-adjusted return, or they're gonna jump ship, right?
Are these rates adjusted by agents? Is that how they're actually being adjusted?
So this is where, as a user, you don't have to think too much about this stuff. You can just sit back, and the savings rate that you get from holding USDS is going to be the best possible savings rate that the market can source.
Welcome back to the Rollup. We are your hosts. I'm Andy.
I'm Robbie, and this is your home to learn from the biggest guests, the brightest minds at the tip of innovation.
Our goal is to help spread the collective knowledge of everyone in our community.
We are breaking crypto out of its echo chamber and taking it to the real world.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy a quick word from some of our awesome partners who make this show possible.
Crypto UX? Broken. AI? Can't trust it. Let Magic Newton set you free. It puts your on-chain transactions on autopilot. Does all the work for you 24/7 so you can go do what you want. The vision of Magic Labs, the creators of embedded wallets, used and backed by the best. See for yourself. Simpler crypto UX, verifiable AI agents. Newton.xyz.
Rune, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm great.
Good to see you, man. Lot going on today, and we got the stablecoin super cycle, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. There's so much happening, and I think the space is really coming back after just the ups and downs that we always have to deal with in crypto.
Yeah, man, I got to start this off and just ask what your thoughts are on Circle. Did you expect the IPO to come out of the gun at a 4x here and trading at over 130? Do you think that the entire industry has been caught off guard? What's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for sure. I mean, it also, I think it makes sense actually, in the sense that it's always been clear to me that stablecoins are just the most interesting and most powerful use case of crypto. So I'm not surprised that you have this kind of blue chip project just getting massively hyped and just seeing so much interest. And really, there's just that type of, like, I don't know what to call it, like sort of Tesla-like FOMO, right, happening, where a lot of people, they just want to have some kind of stablecoin exposure. And of course, this is great for a project like Sky, which is also offering a stablecoin, but really like a sort of I guess a much more advanced version of this. Eventually, I think a lot of that interest and understanding of why not just stablecoins, but DeFi in general, why that is so powerful, that's going to really benefit the whole space, I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I keep seeing Vance from Framework pushing Sky when we see big news from Circle and things, because it's like it is the on-chain version of something like a Circle, like a Tether, but just in a much more DeFi native way. And I think one thing that you guys have really kind of pushed for in the last 12 to 18 months has been these permanent protocol revenues, stablecoin payouts, and really just trying to create a robust way to grow USDS. And I remember being at the Sky launch party, I think in Singapore. Or was it Singapore last year?
Yeah.
And people were kind of questioning about the brand and this and that, but now it's clear, right? $8 billion and growing of total stablecoin supply, and a very, very unique flywheel. So I'm just wondering where the kind of revenue and the growth of USDS is coming from primarily, and where you see a lot of that actual activity coming from, which types of users, and what type of activity have you been seeing for USDS and for Sky?
So the thing that's interesting with Sky's business model is there's USDS, SUSDS, right, which is the savings version of USDS. This is like the new the kind of the flagship product of Sky that was introduced almost a year ago at this point. And at this stage, I think most of the demand for this is coming from like institutional users, like very large scale users. And it's actually quite a different user base than what I would call sort of the OG DAI user, right? Which is kind of like where that's where the network effect of Sky comes from, which is the original DAI stablecoin that we launched with as Maker like 10 years ago at this point, which grew to like a quite a large size and got its own like unique grassroots like deep DeFi audience and user base. But then what happened is that user base is just like it's kind of a natural limit to the extremely sort of deep dive, like ultra advanced and sort of in the weeds DeFi users, right? Which a lot of them are really into using DAI, but for a regular person and for an institution, as soon as it doesn't have USD in the name, basically they get confused, right? So that was a reason we're kind of branching out and evolving beyond just like the original iteration of the product with USDS, with sUSDS, and then with a lot of the new features that are coming with Sky that are just meant to kind of, ultimately just finish off sort of fleshing out the concept of a decentralized stablecoin managed by a decentralized protocol using governance and using advanced and transparent control mechanisms to just make it the best possible product for the user.
Yeah, and so you mentioned sUSDS, and it's now live on Optimism and Unichain, which I think is kind of collectively getting a strong kind of foothold on this, DeFi specific use case chain being Unichain and of course Optimism. I'm curious if you see sUSDS and USDS in general being primarily meant for this institutional crowd, or perhaps this this different crowd than just DAI users. If there's a specific chain ecosystem or place where you want to be most active, right? Is it Unichain? Is it Optimism? Is it Ethereum mainnet? Kind of how are you thinking about the evolution of sUSDS with regards to being kind of multi-chain and being in a place where the core people that you want to use the product get the easiest access to it?
Sure. I mean, I think actually in the end, the fundamental, like the most important target user of USDS and sUSDS is actually, like to sort of really put it on the edge, is actually mercenary capital, right? It's like institutions and just like this completely hyper rational, totally sort of illoyal user, right? That's just looking for where can I get the best possible risk-adjusted return for the next, like couple of blocks, and then I'll rethink it after a couple of blocks, and maybe I'll switch to something else, right? And so ultimately, I think this is where, like, this is the type of DeFi and even just general finance user that is going to be the most scalable in the long run. So the entire Sky ecosystem and its Sky protocol backing USDS is fully optimized for this type of user that is just like, basically you have to offer the absolute best risk-adjusted return or they're gonna jump ship, right? And then the thing is, I mean, if you optimize, I mean, and that's the other thing is, like, if you optimize your product to cater to the pickiest, most sort of hard to please possible user, then it's also going to be a really good fit for every other type of user, right? So in my opinion, like a regular retail crypto user that's looking for a good stable coin, there's no reason why they should be left with an inferior product compared to somebody that is using like AI assisted robo advisors or something to get the best possible product for them, right? So that's kind of, I mean, that's a part of the kind of the strategy and the philosophy around the system, is that once you have that, once you really, the product itself, you've made it as good as it possibly can be, it's just very well suited to then be spread out to more audiences and sort of target more demographics. The question is then, how do you then actually do that? And in the case of Sky, all of these questions of like, how do you achieve X, Y, or Z, they're always answered by the use of the Sky agent framework, right? So the fact that Sky isn't just, it's not just a stablecoin protocol, it's an entire ecosystem of these tokenized agents actually that kind of split up in a sense or subdivide the system into different areas of interest and sort of areas of focus, and then let individual communities basically specialize in what they believe is the kind of the big opportunity for basically bringing USDS to market, right? So even if USDS at its core is optimized for this like hyper rational mercenary capital, then if somebody thinks, well, this is going to be a great product for, you know, financial inclusion in South America, they can go and do that, and they can be the ones bringing USDS to the South American market. And if they do that, there's actually a way for them to make a really good profit and sustain a solid business model from basically creating that connection and basically acting as that distribution layer.
Tired of multi-chain headaches? You need Omni. Omni makes being on-chain feel like you're online. Perform any action on any chain in less than 2 seconds. It's all powered by SolverNet, Omni's breakthrough SDK for cross-chain speed, scale, and cost. To kickstart adoption, the Omni Foundation is offering $10 million in rewards for SolverNet-powered apps. Start earning today at omni.network.
Innovating finance, global, institutional, and on-chain. Deep liquidity to drive capital efficiency. Now, maximize yield on institutional-grade liquid staking with 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵. Unlock $1 trillion of capital via 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵. All of this secured by Mantle's treasury of billions in stables and ETH capital pools. This entire ecosystem is coordinated by a vast network of seasoned VCs that are aiming to create the next generation of banking and financial technology. This is Mantle.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys put out SP Beam about a month ago or so, and this kind of ties into the Sky agent framework and the stars, right? Where you know, there's this automated rate setter per day, and you can kind of have these updates to optimize for your holders based on liquidity rates, etc. Are these rates adjusted by agents? Is that how they're actually being adjusted? Like, is an agent analyzing a framework and then being like, okay, we need to adjust based on a given set of parameters?
So all of these components, they're still just getting in place. So actually the SP Beam, also referred to as the rate setter, is like, it was implemented, like, I don't know, a couple of months ago or something. It has not really been fully activated yet, in the sense that it's not operational in its kind of final form. And so the reason for that is actually because of the lack of active star agents, as they're called, which are like the kind of the workhorse of the Sky ecosystem, or these things called the stars, which are basically like the business entities that basically focus on different like niche markets or business strategies. And then they, in some sense, they kind of compete with each other. They cooperate with each other, they synergize with each other, but they also compete in order to, for instance, drive the rates up or down. So basically what happens when you have multiple stars, like in live operation, which is coming really soon. I mean, that's going to be the case within, like, at the latest would be 2 months from now. There will be like multiple of these actively deploying the collateral backing USDS, and then like simultaneously cooperating and synergizing while also competing to basically deploy the collateral in the most efficient possible way. And through that process of the stars basically going out and trying to generate more profits for themselves by basically better managing the collateral portfolio of USDS, they're going to influence the rates. So let's say that a star, like it finds a way to deploy into a new type of real world asset, right? New type of like TradFi asset that has a really good risk-adjusted return. So you can deploy a lot of collateral into it without needing too much of like a risk buffer, right? So every time a star deploys into something, it needs to put up like a little bit of basically risk capital. Like, it needs to take a little bit of that risk itself. And if something goes wrong, the star takes the loss first before Sky starts to be at risk of taking losses, and even USDS holders, right? And so if a star then finds an opportunity that gives a pretty good yield and doesn't require too much of this extra risk capital on top, then it can start to really like borrow large scale out of Sky, right? And then deploy into this new asset. And then the thing is, what's going to happen is as this star like generates more and more USDS and basically increases the supply of USDS in the market, if you don't have enough buyers of this new USDS, right, because there has to be a user somewhere that actually wants to hold it, then the system will just automatically use the rate setter to increase the rates. And so this way, as Sky is basically able to automatically, through this decentralized process that relies on multiple stars competing with each other, as Sky gets access to better risk-adjusted return out in the marketplace, it will naturally offer a better risk-adjusted return to its users. So this is where, as a user, you don't have to think too much about this stuff. You can just sit back, and the savings rate that you get from holding USDS is going to be the best possible savings rate that the market can source. And also, it's going to always be properly risk adjusted, right? So the risk doesn't change. Like, even if the rate goes up, that doesn't mean that now suddenly there's a bigger risk of everything exploding. If the rate goes up, that's because an actual better risk adjusted return has been found. Of course, this is not like, this is all managed by Sky Core implementing quite advanced risk management frameworks. And of course, today, they're still relatively new. They're actually based on banking regulation, right? So they're based on what's called Basel, which is roughly how banks themselves are regulated, but just, more efficient and not so, real time, and just doesn't have all the drawbacks that TradFi has, right? But fundamentally, it's a conservative, classic approach to how do you manage risk when you're trying to, prioritize that users should not be at risk of losing their money. Like that is just 1000% the most important objective, right? And then once you have made completely sure that people aren't going to be losing their money, then you can start to deploy into interesting opportunities and figure out how to generate this very attractive risk-adjusted return.
Yeah, and I think one of the best parts about the mechanism which you've designed to build USDS, and then obviously this core focus on the security parameters, is around what kind of got us all excited about DeFi outside of the the openness and the permissionlessness and the censorship resistance and the key ideas is this idea to kind of like stack these things on top of each other and build different yield opportunities or different kind of protocol relationships together. And so when you're looking out into the DeFi landscape today, what are some of the projects which you've been most impressed with regards to their ability to compose well with others, or even compose within Sky and USDS?
I think the really big ones is like 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵, Athena, Morpho. There's also like there's like Maple, Fluid, or some and Pendle. Like, these are all examples of these like OG well-established DeFi protocols that USDS holders are now basically able to tap into just by holding SUSDS. And this is all managed through Spark, the first star, right? So Sky just basically delegates control of the collateral, or rather a big portion of the collateral portfolio is delegated to Spark, and then Spark is taking care of interoperating with all these various DeFi protocols out there. And then actually, because of the magic of DeFi, because of money Legos, because of interoperability, it's possible for Spark to actually safely do this without getting stuck in the kind of DAO process hell that is usually what ends up happening in this kind of situation, right? Because you have these sort of several layers where like Sky is using its own sort of governance cycles to just build the overall framework, and then basically say, look, this is what the overall framework looks like. You can sort of play around within that, but you can't break these rules, right? You can't take more risk than the framework allows you to take. But Sky doesn't like prescribe or really understands how to then make a good business once you are sort of as long as you're not creating tail risk, Sky doesn't really care beyond that. And it's a hard problem to figure out how to make a profitable business out of this. But then in Spark, you have a team, and you have people that are very focused on this question, then, right? Of like, okay, once I know that whatever I do, it's within the sort of the safety parameters of the risk framework. Now my number one priority is generating profits, right? Like tapping into new opportunities and moving really fast. So you get this kind of like the best of both worlds, where you have a secure framework keeping people's money safe, but you have stars that are able to then actually be innovative and move fast and generate good profits and sustain their business models. And then it gets even better when you get multiple of them, right? Then you get a really, really dynamic free market, right? Where you have multiple stars, they'll be competing with each other, they'll be learning from each other, and they'll also be synergizing and sort of sharing the total scale of the whole ecosystem. So I think it's going to be really, really exciting to see how Sky's going to be everywhere, right? It's really through the stars, it's going to be tapping into every single interesting, every single value creating protocol out there.
Yeah, Rune, one last one for you. As we sit here today, I believe stablecoin total supply or market cap is around 250 to 60 billion, with what I would believe to be the road to 1.5 trillion over the next 18 months to 2 years. How do you see that kind of race playing out? Or maybe better asked, what is your plan for USDS and Sky to capture a large part of that growth in the coming 2 years?
So at this stage, the entire strategy is to focus on evolving the ecosystem of stars, right? And really promote the builders that are growing these stars. So I think it's gonna, I would argue like it's kind of like it's a sort of exponential bet, in the sense that if the star ecosystem really takes off and the amount of, you could say, decentralized, institutionalized knowledge that exists in the star ecosystem, right? So whenever somebody comes and they create a new star, it's super easy for them because they can copy all of the knowledge and all of the learnings from all the prior stars, right? And not to mention the technology, right? Which is maybe the most important part, that you have this like huge, ready to go, ultra secure DeFi technology stack, right? That you can just use right out the gate. That gives you leverage, it gives you governance, it gives you like access to a huge contributor ecosystem with sort of a reputation and vetting and a kind of feedback mechanisms for how to get things done and how to pay contributors fairly to do work for you. And so, yeah, if that takes off, then, like I said, the ultimate customer of stablecoins is the hyper rational capital. Yeah. Because the same thing that Sky is doing and the stars are doing, right? Which is we are kind of, it's like an AI arms race, right? Like everybody that's deploying money, actually most are probably still just busy doing paperwork, but increasingly it's clear that if you want to have a chance at actually delivering a competitive risk-adjusted return for your customers, you have to deploy, increasingly sophisticated, data-driven AI models and just like automated solutions to this, right? But it also works on the other side. That the users themselves, they also have access to tools that basically help them how to get the best possible risk-adjusted return. So over time, that's what I'm basically expecting, that like even a completely random person that's used some like phone wallet to manage the money, that phone wallet is going to have some like half decent open source AI.
Yeah.
Right. That's going to help them not pick a stable coin that takes a 1% cut. It's going to pick the stable coin that gives them, a really strong free market driven yield like USDS does. Right. And then also that it takes an extremely low spread. Right. So that's the other thing with Sky, is that it sort of knows right out of the gate it's not a good idea to try to take a bit cut from the customer, right? You gotta get used to taking a very thin slice.
Rune, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining today. Very, very impressed from the day one of being active in DeFi on my side in late 2019 into early 2020 and being a part of that kind of crowd and then all the way up till now. So really appreciate your time and looking forward to watching USDS grow alongside Sky as the stablecoin expansion continues. I think this sector is one of the hottest now for good reason. So excited to kind of see this continue to play out.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Rune.